this is a show again with another review. Well, this time I'm going to review this is more like a commentary in this particular video, because I feel that I should mention the fact that this is a sample of what happened on television, and that is, of course, the end of Saturday morning cartoons, which most people, at least in my generation anyway, my generation was really the first generation to grow up watching Saturday morning cartoons. From about like 50 years, or more than 50 years, there were Saturday morning cartoons from the 1960s all the way up to maybe in the early 2000s, and then it started to really die out. Which is really a shame, because I feel that a part of Americana, and then because every kid used to get up early, well, not me, but every kid used to get up early on Saturday morning and watch cartoons on television. I mean, I got up early on Saturday morning to watch cartoons, but not at 6 in the morning or 7 o'clock in the morning to make sure I watched everything. But I used to grow up watching, and we had 3 networks at that time. There was NBC, CBS, and ABC, and they all had cartoons on. But most of the cartoons, the popular ones, were the superhero cartoons. And of course, during the 60s, there were a Batman cartoon, which I saw like bits and pieces of it on YouTube. Some cartoons, and I didn't really care for them, so I don't really watch them all that much. And of course, you had Spider-Man for the 60s with a classic theme song one. Then you had other superhero cartoons. You did have a Hulk cartoon in the 60s. You had the Fantastic Four. You had Thor, which are now big blockbuster movies today. But at that time there were cartoons, so you had cartoons on. So I grew up watching those cartoons throughout the set. Even though there was 1960s cartoons, I grew up with them during the 70s and early 80s. That's why you also had cartoons like Popeye the Sailor. You had the Flintstones. The Flintstones, there was a primetime show during the 60s, but throughout, after the 6-year run on television, it was continuously in syndication, and it used to air during the week. And then during the 70s, they used to have a Saturday morning cartoon, the Pebbles and Bam Bam show, when you had Pebbles and Bam Bam as teenagers. And Pebbles was voiced by another star from the 70s, Sally Struthers, who of course played Gloria on All in the Family. So you had that. Then you also used to have, like I said, the most big thing was superhero cartoons. And during the 70s, you did have cartoon The Super Friends, that was based on the Justice League comic book series from DC Comics. And you had that iconic white building, the Justice League of America. And you had a lot of the superheroes from DC Comics, plus some I never even heard of before, like Apache Chief and I forgot what it was, the Samurai guy they had on there. But the interesting part is that cartoon lasted for about like 12 years, 11 to 12 years, with various incarnations. One of them was, of course, the Challenge of the Super Friends, which every week, I think they had like about 13 or 14 episodes, and every week they fought against the Legion of Doom, led by Lex Luthor, a lot of the villains, a lot of the iconic villains from the DC universe, like Toyman, and you had the Riddler, you had Bizarro, you had Sinestro, who was the arch nemesis of Green Lantern, you had Captain Cold, and each villain used to have one hero that used to stop them all the time during the DC universe. And you had Captain Cold, you had the Toyman, you had Cheetah, you had Solomon Grundy. You had all these classic super villains versus the Justice League. Or we didn't even call them the Justice League then, not until, of course, the 90s and the 2000s, when the Cartoon Network had a Justice League cartoon. They actually had 2 Justice League cartoons. They had the original Justice League, and then they have a spin-off called Justice League Unlimited. But anyway, you had those shows. Plus, you also had other superhero shows. You had Plastic Man, you had Captain Caveman and the Teen Angels, you had Hong Kong Phooey. You also had Underdog for a while. Plus you also had some Scooby-Doo. You had new Scooby-Doo. You had Scooby-Doo for in 1969. But then throughout the series, you had the original cartoon was run on ABC. Plus, you have people like begging for new shows, new episodes, because they're tired of seeing these ones all the time. They come up with a Scooby-Doo show, with an all-new Scooby-Doo show, when they even do Scooby-Dum, and they had Scrappy on there eventually. And then you had Blue Falcon or Dynamite, and the Blue Falcon, which was kind of a lame cartoon, but was entertaining enough. And of course, what they also did throughout the 80s really was make cartoons that was based on a movie. Most notably, of course, the Ghostbusters movie. And the cartoon was just as good, if not even better, than the movie was at times. And of course, they had actually a dispute with that because there was actually two different Ghostbusters cartoons. The one that was based on the movie, the Ghostbusters movies, was called The Real Ghostbusters, because the other cartoon, which had a gorilla in it, or an ape in it, it was titled Ghostbusters. So, not to be confused with, because people were afraid to be confused with that cartoon, so they made the cartoon based on movies they titled The Real Ghostbusters, because the other cartoon was kind of fake. And that cartoon didn't last as long. It maybe lasted maybe 2 years, maybe 3 tops. And the Real Ghostbusters cartoon lasted into the early 90s because of the sequel movie, Ghostbusters 2, and came out in 1989. So it lasted about a lot longer because of the sequel, the Ghostbusters cartoon. And they spawned off the cartoon with Slimer and the Real Ghostbusters for like a year or two. And then that ended. But one of the most popular cartoons during the 80s that was based on a movie, or at least a scene from a movie, was the Muppet Babies, which I actually did watch because I thought it was a cute cartoon. Now the Muppet Babies, those who don't know, and if you haven't seen my Muppet movie series review, there was one particular sequence in the third Muppet movie called Muppets Take Manhattan. There was like a dream sequence where Piggy says, "Imagine if we were little kids." So they had that scene, and everybody said, "Oh, it's so cute seeing the Muppets as they were little kids, like they were babies." So producers got the idea and said, "Hey, that's kind of like Jim Henson Productions, or Jim Henson's people." So they got like they wanted to make a cartoon series based on the Muppet Babies in that scene, and that's why it took off. And for years in a row, they won the Emmy for Best Cartoon Series, or Best Animated Series in the Daytime Emmy Awards. And I thought it was pretty good. I like the fact when they did Star Wars, a spoof of the first Star Wars film, which I think is one of the better episodes in the series. But I thought the series was pretty good. And they also did a spoof of Fantastic Voyage. They did a spoof on that. But I thought it was also quite good. And also CBS and ABC, I always felt had the better cartoons. But NBC had their own fair share. But CBS also had on for a long time Boyfriend and Friends cartoons, which I thought it was an hour-long show. But I thought it was a pretty damn good show. It's definitely one of the better ones. Maybe eventually I will might or might not do reviews of these various cartoon series. But I felt that these cartoon series were very, very good, and unfortunately, if you don't have cable, or the Cartoon Network, or Boomerang, or have these series on DVD, I don't know if some of them even are on DVD. It's a lost art not to have cartoons on regular television anymore. It's a shame. Not even during the week. You don't have cartoons on during the week anymore. Which I grew up on watching as well, because there were plenty of cartoons that aired during the week when I was a kid, even into the early 90s and even throughout the 90s. But unfortunately now it's not. They're not doing that. But they have local news programs on the weekday mornings and even on Saturday mornings. Because I'm going to tell you why Saturday mornings got killed eventually. Of course, CBS also used to have them for a long time. For I think like 12 or 13 years. One of the more popular cartoons, Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids. And of course, I previously reviewed the Halloween show and the Christmas show previously. But it was one of the few cartoons we actually have black characters on it. And it was created from Bill Cosby, and he provided the voices of about half of the characters on that show. And also CBS used to have on a little major cartoon for a while, Tarzan. They also used to have on the Bugs Bunny and Roadrunner show, and then eventually they got moved to ABC eventually. But also NBC also used to have superhero cartoons. Like everyone else, they used to have superhero cartoons. But I think mostly ABC and NBC used to have the cornerstones, and then eventually Fox used to have a lot of superhero cartoons. And NBC had on after the success of the original Spider-Man cartoon during the syndication, and NBC decided to have their own Spider-Man cartoon called Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. And then of course they also had an Incredible Hulk cartoon right back to back. They had for a while in the early 80s a Captain Marvel cartoon called Shazam and the Superpower Hour, because it was also an hour show, which was also a pretty good show. And also they used to have the Chipmunks. Throughout the 80s, in the early 90s, they had the Chipmunks. They had an Elf cartoon. It was kind of entertaining, but I like the live action show better than the cartoon. And then of course what really changed for television, at least in terms of cartoons, was what happened in 1989. 1989, NBC decided to have a live action sitcom aimed at young preteens and early teenagers called Saved by the Bell, which at first it was not successful, and then by the end of the first season and then of course the second season, the show really took off and got huge ratings for a Saturday morning show, and lasted for the original cast lasted like 4 years, and then they had a spin-off called The New Class, which lasted I think another 5 years, and then 1998 it ended. And that's what pretty much ended. By that time, that's what pretty much ended live, not only cartoons, but all Saturday morning programs pretty much on NBC. Because that show was so successful that NBC cranked out other live action shows aimed at the preteens and early teenage, like 13, 14-year-old kids. They had a show like Hang Time. They had another show called California Dreams, which was also pretty popular at the time. It's kind of like Saved by the Bell with a band. That show was pretty successful too at its time. California Dreams and Saved by the Bell, because it was produced by the same producers as Saved by the Bell. But because of those shows, pretty much killed the Saturday morning cartoons. They're not lacking those shows. It's just that because those shows were successful, they knocked out cartoons, and ABC stopped making cartoons, and so does CBS. And so eventually, by the mid 90s, pretty much the Saturday morning cartoons were pretty much dead on the major networks. And then by 1995, or the early 90s, Fox came on the scene with their own Saturday morning lineup, and they had Spider-Man, or Spider-Man the Animated Series, as it's now dubbed on YouTube. And that series was a damn good show, because they had a lot of the origin stories of a lot of the villains, so that was pretty good. None of the other shows pretty much had that. Or the previous Spider-Man cartoons had that. And they also had the X-Men, which lasted for a long time, and that was also good. And then during the week, Fox also had a weekday afternoon series called Batman the Animated Series, which was the first Batman cartoon series they had in about like 15 years or so, since the New Adventures of Batman and Robin, which they didn't mention, in the 70s on CBS, which is a pretty terrible cartoon. And you might want to talk about that adventure sometime down the line. But in terms of Batman the Animated Series, that was a very, very good Batman cartoon. And I think of all the various Batman cartoons, I think it was the best one of the lot. And of course, and that's still my favorite Batman cartoon, is that one. Because it has a lot of origin stories of some of the villains, except for the Joker and Penguin. They had a origin story for a lot of the other villains. And also Catwoman. They didn't have an origin story for Catwoman either. But the other ones they did. And I thought it was pretty good, because I always like that they had an origin story for the villains in these cartoons, especially if they hadn't been done before. And it was done in Batman the Animated Series. That was called The Adventures of Batman and Robin, when the series got its own Saturday morning cartoon, and then eventually got moved to the WB network because Warner Brothers owns the rights to the Batman big action movies, or big speed movies. So they also eventually got the rights for the cartoon, and they moved it from Fox to the WB network, and then of course CW, when they eventually had a cartoon called The Batman, which is supposed to be the beginning stories of when Bruce Wayne first became Batman. I think it was around the time that they had the Batman Begins movie. Then of course they also had a cartoon they had on the WB network, which I thought was a very, very good spin-off, called Batman Beyond. Unfortunately, that cartoon series didn't last for long. That's maybe 2, maybe 3 years. But I thought Batman Beyond was also just as good, if not even better at times, than Batman the Animated Series. Then of course, when like I said earlier, when the live action shows started airing, sitcoms started airing, ABC, which is now at that time owned by Disney, they were repeating a lot of their sitcoms on regular ABC on Saturday mornings. This thing, except for Bugs Bunny, and they eventually moved Bugs Bunny to exclusively the Boomerang channel on the Cartoon Network. Till when that happened, most of the Saturday morning programming on ABC was on the live action shows that aired on Disney. So, for example, That's So Raven, and A Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, and of course the most popular show was of course Hannah Montana with Miley Cyrus. Then of course after a while they stopped doing that, and now every major network except for Fox, our local affiliates here in New York anyway, except for Fox and the CW network, all local CBS affiliate, local ABC affiliate, and local ABC affiliate, most of the programming is dedicated to local news for an hour, for about like approximately an hour and a half to 2 hours, and then maybe a world news thing, and then eventually the 12 o'clock they show football. On college football the rest of the day. So they don't even have cartoons anymore. Unless you have to go on cable, if you happen to have the Cartoon Network or the Boomerang channel, because the Boomerang channel shows cartoons that I mostly grew up with as a kid, like the Flintstones, some of the other cartoons they mentioned already, G.I. Joe. The reason why I haven't mentioned G.I. Joe is because it aired during the week. And mostly been focusing on cartoons that usually air on the weekends, or on Saturday mornings. I haven't spoken about He-Man either, because He-Man also aired during the week on the Rambo cartoon. Because like I said, those cartoons aired exclusively during the week. And like I said, those cartoons was very, very entertaining and very good to watch. But like I said, unfortunately, and I don't know why the networks are not bothering with the animation department anymore. And of course, cartoons that, when I say back a little bit, cartoons that used to air on Saturday mornings eventually did air during the week. As you know, because they made enough episodes that it aired during the week in syndication. Like the X-Men cartoon, Fox did move Spider-Man during the week sometimes, and on Fridays, sometimes on Fridays they used to air a new episode. And then Sundays we would be playing on Saturday, and then eventually they moved it back to Saturdays when the show ended after about 3.5 years. And then I had other cartoons like Pebbles and Bam Bam show you see doing, and I don't think that cartoon ever aired during the week. I don't remember if it did or not. But they had other cartoons that, like the Muppet Babies used to air during the week. The Great for the French show used to air during the week. After that's fun. And they also CBS at that time when they used to air the specials. They had peanut specials. They also used to air a Saturday morning cartoon called the Charlie Brown and Snoopy Show, which was also pretty good. Unfortunately, they also lasted about like 2 or 3 years. And sometimes on the day after Thanksgiving, CBS used to show the entire CBS Saturday morning programming on CBS on the day after Thanksgiving, that Friday. So it gives something kids something to watch on Friday mornings. So which was was pretty good, because sometimes you don't get to see everything. For one reason or another, you don't get to see everything. So you saw most of the lineup on Saturday mornings. Instead of watching game shows, they had on Friday morning during the week. They put on these cartoons that CBS used to air on Saturday mornings. But like I said, I don't know why the networks don't have an animation department anymore. I guess because of the modern technologies now, because people go online, go on YouTube and watch these cartoons, or go to a particular website of the Cartoon Network or Boomerang and see these shows as they are airing live in the Eastern Time Zone, or airing at the same time in the Eastern Time Zone. Let's say if you live in the Eastern Time Zone, you can see those cartoons live on your computer, or you could download cartoons from like Netflix and wherever else you can get them. And so the network says, man, don't bother doing it. Or you can watch on the Cartoon Network or Boomerang. That's the problem I have with a lot of these channels, is that they get exclusive rights to even these older cartoons, or like the Hanna-Barbera cartoons, let's say, and the networks don't stop airing them because why bother airing new cartoons when people see the old classics on cable TV? That's the same thing with horror movies. I know I don't want to compare the cartoons with horror movies. That's what happened with horror movies as well. They used to show on regular television. They used to show, like here in New York, they used to show Chiller Theater, and they used to show these horror movies. Something like the classic, like Frankenstein and Dracula, and now it's all on cable. Or the Halloween movies. You get to see at least a couple of the Halloween movies the weekend before Halloween, or the day after Halloween, since this year comes out on Friday. Put on a couple of new horror movies. It was a big deal. But the cable channels like AMC and Alternative Classic Movies have the exclusive rights to air these classic horror films. Same thing with the cartoons. And it's really, really terrible when this stuff is going on. And it's a shame that the end of the Saturday morning cartoons that most of us, at least my generation, grew up with, is over. Because the CW network used to air cartoons on Saturday mornings until a couple of weeks ago they decided to stop airing cartoons. They used to air like a Transformers Prime cartoon series. They had the Justice League Unlimited, they aired the Spectacular Spider-Man cartoon series, which wasn't like great because it wasn't accurate, but the origin stories with a lot of the characters, particularly the villains, but it was entertaining enough. It was good enough. It had a continuing storyline throughout that series. But I thought the Spectacular Spider-Man was a pretty good cartoon series. Not a great one, but entertaining enough. But in terms of the end of the cartoons on regular television and Saturday morning cartoons, it's really quite sad. And it really does bother me that there's no more Saturday morning cartoons for the kids to watch on Saturday mornings. Now most kids are now sitting, like I'm doing now, sitting on the fat rear ends in front of a computer, looking at videos on YouTube or playing around with Facebook, which is pretty horrible to me lately. I'm not going to go into details why, but it's been pretty horrible to me lately. And I'm talking about the makers of Facebook have been horrible to me, but the people who are in the group that I created on Facebook have been pretty horrible to me lately, the last week or so. But it's really tell what's going on in the world, and particularly with the Saturday morning cartoons. Thanks for listening to this. Man, I know it's a pretty long video, almost 27 minutes now. But thanks for watching this video. Please click on, please rate it. If you missed out, you didn't mention your favorite cartoon, feel free to list them. Please subscribe to my channel, and please forward this video onto your Facebook pages. And the people who are on my particular page that I created on Facebook, the Big Six, Jay Hollis blog. If I could reach into the computer and I don't want to say it, but you can all go and do something to yourselves for what you're saying about me on there. Thanks for watching, and catch you next time.